Welcome, everybody, to the Moa Noa podcast, where I am joined by one of the coolest people in the world, one of my idols, probably one of the most powerful women or people in fitness in Berlin, if not Europe. And I'm honored to be her friend. And she's joining me on my podcast today to dip and get to know each other even more, a little bit more intimate. I have some topics I want to talk about, but first of all, welcome, Alex Hipwell.
Wow. What an introduction.
I've been practicing that for a couple days.
I was going to say, my hands started to sweat. Noah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. I look up to you in many ways. We have known each other, I think, now for over 8 years. And I think one of the things I'd like to start with is your background. And before 10 years ago, and I believe it started with dance, right? And so I know you've done probably a million podcasts because you're a celebrity, and I don't want to talk too much in detail about anything because I'm sure it's out there, but just for me, you were in modern dance, right?
No, I actually studied musical theatre.
Yeah. So you can sing?
I can sing.
Oh my gosh, we might have to get at the end of this podcast a little...
That's not going to happen. I might break out.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Pas de boule, what are they called?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Step will change. Kick.
Yes, exactly. I did a little bit of musical theater back in my day. I was one of the support roles in Footloose.
Really?
Yeah, but I was like 13, so
okay.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. But and so you studied musical theater, and you were in what productions? Were you only in Berlin, or did it start?
No, so in Melbourne. Growing up, I played a lot of different sports, and I was really fortunate. My parents gave me fantastic opportunities to play a lot of different sports, and I played at quite a high level, except for dance. Like everything else was like, okay, you can go to the Olympics if you want to, offered scholarships, but dance.
Which sports?
Netball, swimming, and surf.
What's netball?
Netball is kind of like handball.
Okay.
Yeah, netball's like the Australian version of handball. And I was offered like a place in the kind of like the team that would get you ready for the Australian team. And I danced as well. And I was so bad. I forgot everything, always on stage.
Nice.
Always, which is actually where my mental performance...
Stage fright?
No, not really. No, because I loved it. I didn't get off the stage.
Yeah.
I just started to make it up. But it was actually where my mental performance stemmed from. It was one of my first coaches was a mental performance coach when I was 8 or 9. And from there, my mum wanted me to decide on what direction I wanted to go. And of course, she thought swimming or, netball. And I was like, I want to be a dancer. And they were so shocked. But it's so beautiful. They supported me the whole way. Got me the best trainers, went to the best school. And I worked so hard and just ended up like kind of the top of, I guess, the state. And but it was all from hard work. It was definitely not from talent.
Okay.
Because when I look back, it was like shocking. It was embarrassing.
It's almost beautiful, actually, because
Yeah.
there's so many people that are just gifted,
Yeah.
and they just take off. And I mean, some of the best athletes in the world, they don't even go to practice.
But I worked so hard and
yeah.
I loved it. And that's pretty much rippled into the rest of my life, even till today, of just do what sets your soul on fire and work hard, do the hard work. And that's literally what I've lived, because I proved it to myself. I built that trust by, if I put in hard work, I can become the best. And I became the best, and I won everything. Cool. And I got scholarships and decided between a modern school, which is what you just asked me, were you a modern dancer, which is where I thought I was going to go. And then I also, while I was in Melbourne doing the auditions, there was a musical theatre school as well. So I went in and I did the audition, and it was so great. Like, it was jazz, and it was like all these other things that I just really loved. And then I got a position in both. and took the musical theatre, to my surprise and to my mother's surprise.
You're always choosing the hard road.
Yeah, but it was what set my soul. It was like, what do you remember? What made you feel good? What do you want to do? What's challenging? And it was that. And, you know, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Like, some of my closest friends who I still have today are all from that school and that college.
Yeah. How old were you at that time?
17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think from 17, for me going into college at 18, all those guys on my soccer team, they're like, you can not talk to them for a year, you meet up, and it's like you haven't missed a beat.
So good, isn't
right?
it? Oh, I still do like Wednesday waffle with them on the phone.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
Godfather of my son. Yeah.
That's really, really nice.
Yeah. But then dance. I mean, if you want to, dance just went from there. Like I studied, that took me overseas to Germany. Well, actually to London, which I hated, and then moved to Germany and was kind of picked up the day that I arrived. I did an audition for a job, and I never left. And lived in LA for a little while, but I kind of just travelled and always had a little place in Cologne in the west of Germany. I lived in Switzerland.
My
ended
goodness.
up the only musical theatre stuff I did though was I choreographed or assisted the choreography for Cabaret, and then played Helga in Cabaret. But everything else was, I ended up doing like a lot of TV work, a lot of backup dancing, you know, Top of the Pops and MTV and Viva, and I toured with Wycliffe and Sarah Connor and
what?
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And from there, you went to another almost extreme, I guess, bodybuilding. Well, that was the transition, right? The
transition was actually during dancing, I was very curious as to why I was always injured. I was always injured my whole career.
Just pain or like?
No, like kind of niggles, but, you know, shin splints and weird kind of injuries that I just pushed through. And we were always on tour and 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So I decided to study fitness and nutrition. And I got into a really good course. It was like a 12-month course. And that's where I could do my personal training course and my nutritionist certificate. And
was that in Germany?
It was from the UK.
Okay.
So I was kind of going back and forth, and then went and did 6 weeks intensive in the end for the exams. Mind you, now when I look back, it's absolute bullshit because it's all, you know, researched on men, hence to where I am today.
I can't wait to get there. That's part of the podcast for sure.
Yeah, but what was so interesting in that itself was I never thought that I would ever find another passion that I was as passionate about.
Like dance.
Yeah. And, you know, as a dancer, you really live in the moment. The only anxiety that I got was, oh my God, I don't have many jobs coming up, is when I was looking into the future. But other than that, you're very present. You do live check by check. You live day by day, which, to be honest, is super healthy. It is so healthy because you're not anxious. Unless you're not very good and you don't have much work coming up, that's on you. But we kind of always had like some big jobs coming up that would last, but the money was good. But I never thought about anything too far in front of me. I was never anxious. It's really interesting. And just like best years of my life. I mean, I'm super happy now, but when I look back, seriously, I was a gypsy and just traveled the world. And Pre-kids. Pre-kids. I had an amazing kid. But that was an organic transition. So when I studied fitness and nutrition, I continued to work as a dancer and a choreographer. And there came a point where I was just like back doing a bit of both. So I was doing a little bit of PT. I'd already had Jack, and I was still kind of choreographing and dancing a little bit. And then I had my last big job as a choreographer, which was the Friedrichstadtpalast. And I just felt I wanted people to really take me seriously. So I was like, I think I need to make a decision, like go all in on one thing. And I, you know, as much as I loved dance, I didn't want to be away from Jack too much. I didn't have any family here to support me. So I was like, I really love this fitness world. And I've always wanted to be a bodybuilder.
What?
I know. Like, not as in like a bodybuilder, but can I design? Like, I was so thin, Noah. I was so skinny, like 12 kilos lighter than I am now.
Yeah.
And I would see these girls on the front of the magazines of like Oxygen and RX and stuff like that. And I was like, I wonder if I could ever design my body to look like this. Like, I really wonder. And I thought, well, now's my chance. Like, I was never allowed to kind of have more weight as a dancer. But if I'm a personal trainer, then maybe I can, you know,
be
start
free.
I thought you said beefy. I was like, yeah. Be beefy.
Be beefy, be free beefy. Yeah.
So that's when I made the decision to cross over and just go all in into the fitness world. And that was beautiful.
I think
organic.
Bodybuilding is a gateway. It's a hard as hell gateway into the fitness world.
And unhealthy.
Yeah, I remember a memory I have. I think it was right when I was first transitioning from Nike running to Nike training. You were getting ready for a competition, and you're like, Noah, I can't eat any more chicken and rice. And I guess a question that could lead into this is it true that nutrition makes or breaks a bodybuilder? Or I guess the myth out there is that it's 70% nutrition, 30% hard work. Do you confirm or no?
I mean, the nutrition is huge.
Yeah.
It is huge. And you can really design your body with food and with water. It is phenomenal. Like, the intensity of your training is what matters. You know, so really knowing what is the 11th and the 12th rep. What does that feel like? What should it feel like for you? But, you know, it's never really been about strength when it comes to bodybuilding. Like, you don't do a 1 rep max or anything like I'm doing now.
You're repping
you're building.
Yeah.
So you're shaping and you're sculpting. And that also has a lot to do with genetics.
Yeah.
Huge amount. The right program. But of course, then your nutrition on top. Like, everybody's different. Everybody, like...
Do you believe in the body types, like exomorph, endomorph, mesomorph type?
I mean, yes, to a certain degree with skeletal kind of function when you look at that. And I think it is a lot harder when somebody, you know, is kind of bottom heavy, has this tiny little waist and tends to put on weight more in the lower half than the upper half. But then, you know, you be realistic with yourself and you're like, okay, then wellness or bikini is probably better for me. Whereas for my body, which is very kind of like boxy, I'm great for figure. Like, for bikini, no. Like, just, I don't have a tiny waist.
What's the biggest difference? So bikini is like the V shape.
No, that's figure. Back when I was doing it, so that kind of nice V shape, capped shoulders, thick back, good glutes, but no, like, kind of like not too dry that you see like the tie into my hamstrings or the fibers. A nice quad sweep. So you kind of really want to have that like almost superhero kind of look. Yeah. Whereas the bikini has this thinner upper body, nice long limbs, bit more booty, not so much abs.
Really?
Yeah, whereas I've got a 6-pack and I look like I did something. Yeah. No offense to the bikini girls, because I know that they work very hard as well. And again, that's really picking a particular category that really fits you and to the work that you want to put in.
I never thought of bodybuilding like that. I thought it was just one.
No.
Because I follow Johannes.
Yeah.
I think because you introduced him to us at some point as well. Hilarious guy.
Yeah.
And he's got a bunch. His is bodybuilding, like pure, right? Yeah. And so he has really cool stories of these 17-year-old guys growing into the bodybuilding world, and it's insane what they can do with their body. Yeah, I mean,
he for me is definitely one of the best.
Was he your coach?
No, there was Johannes, myself, and Julian Zitlo. We were the only PTs at McFit, right?
Yeah.
So I was the only woman, and then there was the two guys, and back in the day, and
just a couple of years
him
ago.
And I just became really, like, back then we were really good friends. We don't have a lot of contact now, but it's always really nice when we see each other, and I really definitely cheer for him from the side to see what he's built for himself, but also
That's really cool.
he's never, even though he's adapted to where we are, whether it be YouTube or Instagram, who he is as a coach is that old school, like, really found nothing fancy. There is nothing fancy about like bodybuilding or anything. Keep it super simple, be consistent. You don't need to do anything fancy to keep yourself entertained. And that's why he can work with these teens and really build them up. And it's just so good to see. I love it.
Simple is always better.
Yeah.
This is a random question I'll just throw in there because then we'll transition into something else. I hope that they do eventually, but if someone were to make a documentary about you, what would the title be, and what's the title of the next chapter?
Wow. Shouldn't this be like the last question that you ask me?
Yeah, but I want it to be in there so that I can come back to it.
It's pretty easy. It's Super Her.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's written Super Her, as in like block is the super, her is more cursive. And then at the end is the female sign. So if you want to say superhero, you can, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are a true artist.
I'm very visual.
Yeah. We'll get to the next chapter then at the end.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So a lot of what you've said to me now is what you've built for yourself up until now, going through dance, which wasn't your strength, going into bodybuilding, which is a complete opposite direction, requires mental strength. Like there's no one can take that from you. And so one of my main questions is like fear and self-doubt. I think it's natural for everyone to have.
Yeah.
I am not innocent on any occasion for that. And it's probably, I guess the question is if it's just background noise for you. Do you have a lot of that? Do you still struggle with imposter syndrome, or are you like dialed in right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
So fear and in like self-doubt is huge in my life. But it's only when I don't do the work. It's the only time. And I have enough experience under my belt and enough trust with myself. And I've proved to myself over and over again that I can do whatever I want to do if I am consistent, if I have an accountability partner, like a coach, and if I just do it.
Yeah.
If I do what I need to do, I do a lot of visualization in the sense of let's use a bodybuilding competition, for example. I say I want to go to the Arnold Classic. That's a big competition to head up. I only think about the entire time what I'm going to do when they call my number out when I win. I had videos cut that I would watch on the 1 hour cardio I had to do in the morning. God, can't believe that I did that. And I would watch them on repeat of athletes winning, crossing the line at the Olympics, standing on the podium. That's all I thought about. And my goal was that, because I had the plan, I had the nutrition plan, I knew what I had to do. I would always like plan the week. And I knew that all I wanted was to stand side stage at the wings before I go on for a T-walk as a bodybuilder and have zero regret that I ate every egg white, every chicken boob, I didn't miss a meal, that I did everything that I needed to do to have the best, I want to say package, because that's what it is, that I could have. And all I had to focus on was being the only one who could actually walk in heels. Other than, And I think every single time, like I placed first or second in every competition I ever did. And I never had a regret.
And how do you keep that level? Like, what is your, other than being a superhero, what do you do to recharge?
Exactly. And that's where like, I know that I have the trust in myself to put the work in.
Yeah.
But for example, like now, the fear that comes over me when I can't do something, or it's like, how do I say it? The fear will only come when I look too far in front and I see like all the work that I need to do something, whether it be with my business or something with my son or even with myself. And if I don't put the work in and I don't do the hard work, then I get scared and I start to make decisions out of fear, you know, like really like scarcity kind of decisions. But I know myself and I know how that feels in my body. And it's more like I've got Post-its around my house that say, are you doing the hard work? I've got one, in my kitchen. I've got one in front of my door in my bedroom. So when I walk through there, I know what needs to be done to take me where I want to go. And sometimes I get lazy.
Which is normal.
Yeah, but imposter syndrome doesn't really hit me so much anymore because I like it. Yeah. I feel like when that comes, I'm like, okay, this is something new. I haven't done this before. So this is kind of cool.
You're a true athlete. I think that comes with the childhood and athletics. Like every situation we're put in as athletes is new and it's a challenge and you just have to be adaptive and make the best of it.
But that's the whole time I've just spoken about business. Yeah. And I am like a CEO of my professional life. If we go over to Alex Hipwell, private life, that's so soft and vulnerable. And, you know, I've only just started therapy. Like finally, you know, something ticked where I was sitting on the couch, something happened that I had sabotaged. It was my actions that had done this. Out of, I'm not good enough. How could this ever happen to me? I don't deserve this. No one would ever be that attracted to me who looks like that. It was with a guy. Yeah. And I sabotaged the whole thing. And it broke me. And I was like, get out of your own way. You did this. Like, you are responsible for your actions. Regardless what triggered you, regardless what it was, how I reacted to a situation is on me. And I've been here before. And I emailed someone who had been recommended to me. I was like, do you have any space? I'm looking for a therapist. And she said, yeah, next Thursday. And I was like, bingo. And I've literally done one session, Noah. And I was like frolicking after this like session. I was so proud of myself that I'm ready to heal now. Like I'm ready to step into that side of growth in my private life. Yeah. And that's just been an area where I was so confident, you know, when I would do podcasts and people would interview me, or I'd do a competition, or I'd do like a strength training, when my private life was just like crumbling on the side. And I was like, why am I not putting the work in over here and just covering it?
It's so hard.
It's really hard, but God, it's so empowering when you finally like realize that you're the obstacle and you need to like get out of the way.
Preaching to the choir, Alex. That's amazing. I did some therapy a few years ago, and he was like, why are you coming? I was like, because I want to talk to you. Like, I have my partner, I have some friends, but I want like professional advice. And then I started going with my partner, and that was even more powerful for us to do partner therapy. It was probably saving the relationship. But I mean, you and me, we're athletes. We fight to the end, always. And I learned in the podcast with my partner that some people don't want that all the time.
Right?
Which is nice. But just the fact that like communicating about it and then having a medium like a therapist, it's for anyone out there that's thinking about it, just do it. It's always worth it. You have to find the right one. Yeah. That's sometimes hard to do, but ask around in your friend circle. I'm sure someone's got a good one. Let's get into women's health because that's your main focus now. And judging by what we've talked about now, it almost seems like your life has been super serendipitous. Like it's just, you have these motivations, you have these ideas and these things you want to do. And it seems like magic. It's not, but it just kind of opens up for you. And my question for you is, do you think like these transitions, did you plan them, or was it always just like, this is what I feel and this is what I want to do, and you did it? Or was it, which one was it?
I love this question. This is so relevant at the moment. As you probably know, like I have a coach in all areas of my life, and in my business coach, every time I get a bit, I start, it's almost like questions are coming up. Like, what am I doing with my life? Is this really what I want to do? Is this it? You know, this is very common for me. Normally it used to be every 2 years. Now it's kind of every 6 months. And I used to change, whether I changed apartments, changed location, changed country, that's changed relationships. That's kind of what I would do, right? And now I kind of sit in that.
Okay.
Because that's when I'm searching for growth. And I remind myself, and I know this because this is how I coach my women, right? So I know this now because I'm like, okay, 6 months ago, your goal was to be where you are today with your business, the amount of people in your coaching, with you as a mum, with you as an athlete, with you as a woman. So actually, you're at ground zero again. So it's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
It's about now, and then I created it's called a reset workshop.
Yeah.
And it's where you dive in and you go into your 3, your 6, your 12 months. And then you literally I write around each one. It doesn't matter what comes in. What would I love to achieve in 6 months? It can be private, it can be business, just let it come out. And I put things down like read 2 books or, you know, do this or start a podcast or do this course or whatever it is. And I do that. And then I go back to each month and I circle one goal that just kind of, it'll pop out at you. And then I look at it and then I pick one and I break it down.
Interesting.
Yeah. And you can do it for each one or whatever, but there's always one that I look at. And then I do a free write on what do I really want?
Yeah.
5 minutes, no stopping, like just write.
Oh, that sounds so difficult.
It's not. It's when you do it once and you see what comes out, it's crazy.
I think I'm going to book you for a session because it sounds, I mean, I have a nice direction where I'm going right now, but I've always asked myself, like, is that truly what I want? It feels right. I'm doing great.
Free write is the best thing for that. Because you question yourself out of security, your subconscious kicks in, right? And it's like, oh no, I wouldn't do that because that's kind of new. Let's do what we did yesterday. That's like really safe. Let's just like hang out there. And you're like, no, but like I want something new. So that's why the questions come in. So I'm in this, it's the reason I said it's so relevant is because I'm exactly at ground zero again.
Nice.
And I have a meeting with my business coach on Friday. And it's like, I sent him a message last week and I said, I don't know what to ask for, but I know I need support. And he's like, okay, Friday. Because he knows me. He knows, okay, this is where we are again. What do you need? Like, what do you want? Even though I've written things down, it's about understanding you and knowing that you're not bored. You're just searching for growth. Yeah. Because you are where you wanted to be 6 months ago. And I think you have to remind yourself.
In us to grow. Yeah.
You have to remind yourself that this is not boring. You've just grown so much in the last 6 months. If you've been putting in the work, just reflect a little bit on that journey and be like, okay, what did I want 6 months ago? And I've got everything written down because we do the workshops every 6 months. So it's really nice to see, oh, okay, what did I do? What didn't I do? And where do I want to go next? So really getting clear on who my future self is in 6 months, which is a whole nother story in itself because I was just really never friends with her and we've become really good friends. And all the decisions that I make today, or most of them that I try, align with her, right? So go to training. I don't want to go every morning, Noah. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to go. But then after an hour and I've had breakfast, I'm going. Yeah. You know, don't listen to that. But that's pretty much where I'm at now. It's that stepping into growth, trusting myself, not listening to my subconscious, and getting uncomfortable again.
And how did this transition to specifically work with women and lifting women? I love that name. It just fits so perfectly to what it's doing and what it is. So you know that yourself. Yeah. How did that happen? Because I mean, okay.
So most of my purpose, and I know my purpose, and it's to impact one woman. No, it's to impact one other woman. That's really, my purpose is to be a mum worth modeling to Jack. in every aspect of my life. You know, in my relationships, everything. And as a coach, I want to impact one person. And then if that ripples into others, then this is good. And Lifting Women was born out of pain, as are most of my things for purpose. I know exactly where I have stood, where I have created all my female coaching, whether it be the retreats in the beginning. I stood in a pile of tears when I had finally spoken my truth and ended a relationship after 5 years of, I found my strength, I spoke my truth, and I just stood there and said to myself, I never want another woman to feel like this, that they feel stuck in concrete and can't move for 5 years. That's 5 years of your life. How can I use my platform to bring women together and empower them again, that they know their self-worth, that they can speak their truth, you know, that they have confidence to speak their truth. And that was when I launched my first retreat in Mallorca, and it booked out, I think it was 7 or 8 minutes.
That's crazy.
And I was like, shit, I didn't even have a villa. I just had a picture of a villa, right? And I was like, Jesus. And I booked that. I drove the van. I cooked all the meals. I did everything on my own for the first couple of retreats, which were just golden. And unfortunately, my assistant who was working for me stabbed me in the back and stole my company.
I can't remember.
Because it was a side hustle that I loved to do, right? And she created like a small company under that name. And I just got an email one day saying that my freelance services were no longer needed. Yeah, and that all my retreats had been cancelled and all participants had been notified. And I'd been locked out of my Instagram. I'd been locked out of my everything. And I fell to the floor. And I still remember it so clearly. Like I was shaking because how that started and from where it started was so pure and it was so mine. It was not hers to share or to take. And I couldn't believe that another woman in such a kind of event that I'd created had stabbed me in the back so slowly, you know? Yeah. And I was on my knees in between my coffee table and my sofa. And then like a little kid, I stood up, I kind of stamped my foot and I had fists. And I was like, no, like women lift each other up. And that's where Lifting Women was born.
I'm getting goosebumps.
And I no longer spoke to her again. I didn't fight for it. My name was everywhere on this. But I was like, you know what? Obviously my time with this is done. And I'm supposed to do something else. I'm supposed to believe enough in myself that I can do something on my own. Lifting Women was born, still just retreats and workshops, did really well then. Online coaching started because COVID hit, we needed to, like, you know, we had nothing like other than Zoom. And I had actually started at 18 then with one of my besties. He was doing nutrition, I was doing training. I never wanted to go online. I love connection, I love people, I love it. But I was like, damn, I need to make some money. So I went online and it boomed, like, kid you not, like it exploded. I couldn't I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to manage it. I was dying. But from that, I was studying optimizing female performance with Dr. Stacey Sims. And so of course I was in a bit of a rabbit hole that I was digging myself. Like I was just so in it. Yeah. And my business partner at the time was kind of sending me women all the time saying, okay, can you deal with this now? Can you deal with this now? And I was sitting there and I was like, this is kind of common. It's like they're really motivated in the first 2 weeks. Then they kind of fall apart the third week. Fourth week, I'm kind of like trying to hold them above water. And then we're back on like fire. And this was so interesting for me. And I was like, what's happening here? And of course, then I was open for it. You know, I was open to see the sex differences between male and female clients and realized very fast that women needed me more. And I was like, why not just rebrand to Lifting Women completely? Like bring all my workshops, my retreats, everything over onto my coaching, only focus on women. So faded out 18, had nothing left on, you know, I think I had 10 clients or something. But I was like, I can do this. Like I can really create a method where women can start to, you know, track their own cycle, understand that how powerful it is to have a healthy cycle, which I never had in my career, hence why I was injured all the time. And And then I was, getting them to track. There was not enough data at all to say phase-based training, even though it was quite fashionable online. I was like, no, like, I feel good in that phase. Like, I don't want to do yoga. Yeah. Like, why are you telling me to do yoga?
Because every woman is different. And
every single woman has a unique hormone profile. So anytime you see online, like, in phase 1, do this, and phase 2, it's... Okay, on one side, it's bullshit just because you can't generically say that to a group or a mass group of women. You need women to understand their unique hormone profile, but with what we do have and the data we do have, we know when estrogen surges. We know what estrogen does to the body. So therefore, maybe focusing on, high protein, really pushing with the weights and go for this is probably a really good thing to do, right? Even though we don't have enough data. But then in the back end of your cycle, when you're leading a bit more up to having your period on your first day and you want to burn the house down and have a divorce and sell your company and all that kind of stuff, we also understand that women, 1, are not eating enough, right? 2, we are utilizing fatty acids more than carbs. So therefore, how can we work with that? So it's more about just understanding you over a certain amount of time. And you'll find some women are great in phase 4, some women are not so good, some women have cramps, some women don't. And you understanding you is just the most perfect thing to do. And that's how lifting women, kind of the methods that I've created and how I mentor my coaches now to communicate with women. And it gives them confidence, it empowers them to, rather than going, what is wrong with me? Like, I'm supposed to do a long run today and I honestly feel like 10 kilos heavier. When you're running, it's like you're running on concrete barefoot, right? Yet 2 days ago, I did 3 or 5K at like the fastest time I've ever done it. Like, what is wrong with me? The girl next to me is doing the long run. How come I can't do it? So this kind of negative self-talk just over time is really bad. So what we tend to do now is go, okay, how do I feel? Kick off on that long run. You don't feel so good. Don't do it. Move it 4 days later or 2 days later when you know that normally on day 20 you feel kind of better than you do on day 15. Be flexible enough to kind of like move, because all the research that is done on men. Therefore, all the splits, when we do long runs, when we do intervals, when every single thing other than 7% of research is done on men and men alone, and a lot of the time sedentary men. Because with women, they thought if we use a sedentary man, it's kind of more connected to... I know.
What?
I know. It's crazy. So it's more about you just understanding you and giving yourself permission.
Because he has less testosterone, or what's the reasoning behind that?
I don't... It's really embarrassing, actually. I don't know. It's like just a sedentary man is connected to a woman. It's so bad.
It's what a man would think. Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah. The man was like, you know what, we gotta have something here. Let's just make a sedentary man. Anyways, we can probably have an entire podcast just about lifting women and the science behind that. I would love to do that again. Yeah, if you're into it, or maybe on yours when you're ready.
Yeah.
But I have for the end of this just a few fun questions. Yeah. Just bang them out and then we hug it out. So, what would you say the best years you've ever had in Berlin were?
I think the best years that I had were... That's hard to say. That's hard to say because, of course... Okay, I would say 2018, 2019 to just beginning of Corona.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I had been through so much just before that, of like this push and pull of where do I want to live, what do I want to do, the court case situation, everything. And I'd made a clear decision that I will no longer ever be moving back to Australia, and that this is my home and I need to build something. And I made new friends and I made my life for me. I'd moved out with Jack.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot
happened, and they were so great those years. Yeah.
It's cool that you can call Berlin home. I think there's a nice thing in that. I don't know if I could give up the beautiful sun of Australia. I'm not from a sunny... I mean, Michigan has more sun than Berlin, but everywhere has more sun than Berlin. What's your favorite food right now?
I'm such a fan of salmon.
Really?
I mean, always oats. Oats is always...
What?
Yeah, because you don't know the story. Oats are life. Did you ever see that hashtag I used to use?
No.
Oats are life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I lost the cork
You would have oats over a brownie or like a pizza?
Well, yeah.
Really?
Have you seen my oat bowl?
Okay, then I might need you to teach me
Even
about
like
this.
oatmeal, like so good. Oats are life. There was a point where I couldn't afford anything but oats.
Yeah.
And I was so... What I did was I did savory oats. I did like sweet oats.
I'm inspired because oats are for me like the fallback. If I don't have anything,
really,
oats are like. Okay,
sometimes at night I'm like, could I have another bowl of oats?
That's awesome.
So good.
I just feel like I'm always hungry after oats.
Yeah, it's what you put with them.
Yeah. Okay. Then we can talk about this afterwards. Best. Oh, I don't know if this works. The best restaurant in Berlin for that food. So if you don't have a good oats place,
Haferkarte.
Yeah, really?
Sure.
They do oats.
They only do oats.
That's crazy.
Haferkarte, you've got like I always get the Nashkarte, which is like porridge. So
how many days a week?
Not so often anymore.
Okay.
I used to go like 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
So it's like cooked like porridge,
yeah.
and then it's got banana, like raw chocolate, and like syrup.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god! And if you're lucky, you get strawberries. So good.
If
you
you're
get
not
at the airport now too.
Haferkarte.
Yes.
Expansion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not eating oats, what's the second best?
What restaurant you mean?
Yeah.
Benedict's Breakfast.
Where's that?
There's one in Charlottenburg and there's also one in Prenzlauer Berg now. Oh my god, it's so good.
Okay, I love breakfast food.
Right, brunch. Yeah, I
brunch,
will brunch
breakfast
over anything.
Yeah. Just sleep in a little bit, make
poached eggs, pulled beef, and then pancakes.
I'm getting hungry.
And a mimosa.
We got to stop this podcast soon. Last question.
Yep.
What's your next big fitness event on your schedule? Do you have one this year?
For me personally, or I'm actually going to compete again, or try and compete again this year.
In bodybuilding?
No.
Or
I don't think I could. No, in CrossFit actually.
What?
Yeah, I've got High Rocks is coming up, but that's doubles. I always do doubles with one of the women inside Lifting Women.
Okay.
And
are you doing the one in Berlin in April, or are you going somewhere else?
No, I'm doing I'm doing FIBO with one of my clients. Yeah. And then I'm doing April with a woman from the UK, so I better start running, put it that way. Yeah. She does like 8 a year.
What?
I know. I was
8 competitions,
God.
8.
Yeah, 8 High Rocks.
And so you're going to compete in CrossFit. Yeah, I know. I mean,
I want to qualify for Battle of the Beach with Denise, with my business, with my assistant.
That's in Florida, right?
Battle of the Beach? No, that's in...
Because you went to one in Florida and you helped host the event, didn't you? Which one? What am I thinking of? Where my friend Carlin saw you.
Oh, Whatappalooza. Yeah, years ago. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. No, not that one. I mean, I would love to try and qualify for this as a solo athlete. That's something I've always wanted to do. This year I'm going to try for Battle of the Beach, and we're also going to go for a competition in South Africa in December.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Big things. I want to try High Rocks. Like High Rocks is
been
calling my name
like
for years.
All over it. Are you going to do a solo or a double?
I signed up for a solo last year, and then I went skiing, hurt myself a week before, so I couldn't compete. And then I realized what the weights and stuff were, so I think I'm going to go with a partner first, maybe in the fall, and then hit it hard next year. Berlin, April.
Like it's... Honestly, you don't do a trial that's not pro. Just go and do, because the weights are fine.
True, yeah.
Just go and do the open and feel it.
That's a good idea.
And you'll probably go out too hot, and then you'll die on the ski and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The rookie mistakes. That's anyways, right. Alex.
Noah.
Thank you so much for coming out to Moabit to visit me in my little sport room here to do this podcast. I really, really, really appreciate it. I hope we can do it again. And I hope we also see each other more often nowadays.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Big hug.
Big hug.
Thank you.
Thanks, bud.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.